Okay, I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you. First of all, full disclosure, I've known Nick since WEC. I used to commentate on his fights. I commentated on Nate Diaz's first fight ever against Hermes Franca. He's in way over his head. He's still winning there and fought. These guys are gutsy guys. You know, some people, they've been the wrong way because they're really street, but I like those guys. Those are the kind of guys I would have hung out with in high school. You know, and I know Nick. I really like Nick, and there's been times where we disagreed on things. Like when he fought, you know, a fight in Strikeforce Challengers or Elite X scene, I thought the other guy won. I'll say it during the broadcast, but then smoke clears. He knows I'm real. He knows I'm going to tell him the truth. This thing pissed me off so bad, and I don't even smoke weed anymore. I stopped smoking weed decades ago. No, I'm not running for office. I don't really give a shit, right? But it's like Nick Diaz getting 5 years. To me, let's back up a little bit. There was a time in the United States when women could not vote. Was that the right thing to do? No. And they had to make change, so they had to go up there and fight the system to change this bullshit rule. There was a time when blacks could not vote in the United States. Same thing. And to fight the power and change that rule. You know, there was a time where a lot of other things were illegal in the United States, where booze was legal. You couldn't drink a glass of wine. You'd go to jail. And then they had bootlegging and all this other stuff, and they had prohibition. They had to change that. Well, guess what? This pot thing should have been changed a long time ago. We got way too many people in prison serving time for bullshit, offenses that have to do with pot. Pot is not a performance-enhancing drug. Change the rule. Take that off. Free Nick Diaz. This is complete bullshit. I'm pissed about it, man. And I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. I texted Nick as soon as I saw this on some of the websites. I said, what is this bullshit? Are you kidding me? All these guys are doing coke. They're beating their wives. They're doing PEDs, getting tested multiple times and caught over and over again, and they're lying about it. But because they can sell tickets, I'm going to put them back in. Mike Tyson, and I love Mike Tyson, big fan. But the fact is, he bit Holyfield's ear off. He got banned. In a little bit over a year, he's back fighting. Nick Diaz gets 5 years for smoking weed. That's bullshit. They got to get rid of that rule, and they got to put him back in there and let this go. They got to let it go.
But what is the sea change? Like, how is it going to, like, they have to change the rule, right, Stephen? But I the way that I see it, and, I'll echo my comments a little bit from last week because, I'm pretty sure you didn't hear that. What I felt like was going to need to happen is a voice like Ronda Rousey, and I noted her specifically, would have to get out front of this thing. And
Joe Rogan too.
And Rogan, yeah, well, he's already done it.
And me, to a lesser degree. I mean, I don't have as many Twitter followers as those guys do, but I think I've got some credibility. I'll tell you what. I'm sorry to interrupt. If Nick needed me to speak in front of the commission, I'd be happy to, and I'm sure Joe and Ronda would do the same thing.
And it's that visibility that would be the only thing to get it changed. Now, do you think that there's been articles written and pundits talking that this was a witch hunt rather than an enforcement of a rule, or that the rule really wasn't enforceable to 5 years and it'll be overturned and with some kind of court hearing anyway? I mean, does that make it a witch hunt?
Well, I don't know about witch hunt. That's, I think that there's some. They're trying to make an example, and they're trying to show people. See, we're going to take this drug thing head on. Well, they're picking the wrong drug, man. We're not worried about pot. We're worried about steroids. Nobody gets hurt when we're getting beat up by a guy who smoked weed. They get beat up with people who are juiced out and they're going to try and kill them. With roid rage or whatever. I mean, they're trying to send a message that's the wrong message because this thing shouldn't be illegal. It's the wrong drug. So, plus, it's not. Nick Diaz is not known to be the number one draw. He'll be the guy opposite GSP or the guy opposite Anderson Silva, but it's not like he is the guy because he's got the bad boy thing going on too much. So if they want to pick on one guy, it's not going to be John Jones. No. You cocaine? Okay, you can fight. But what? What are you talking? Are you kidding me? It's like, so they're going to, well, which guy should make an example of? Nick Diaz, yeah. Because is he that popular? No, he's not that popular. Okay, let's go after him, yeah. Well, we're going to flex our muscles and beat this guy down. Street guy's a dog, yeah. No, bro, you picked the wrong guy because the people are behind him.
Well, they came out in force behind him pretty much immediately. I mean, the way these things happen now, I mean, this was like happening in real time. You know, people were following the commission. The commission session online. They were live commenting it as it was happening, and I really don't think anybody saw this coming. But what about the other argument, Stephen, where the guy clear whether it's the rule gets changed or not, right? Right now, that's what the rule is. So if you keep breaking it. Does that, is that the way to get the rule changed? I mean, isn't the way to get the rule changed to, abide by it and, get that credibility for, like, how come, here's my problem, Stephen. How come Ronda Rousey, whose book I read, and she talks about, how she smokes pot, yet she never tests positive when it comes time for her fights. I mean,
okay.
That's that. Help me with that.
Certain rules should not be in effect. Okay, Muhammad Ali, you know who he is, of course. You know who he is, right? Okay, Vietnam War happens. Ali said, "No, I'm not going." And then guess what? Oh, good. We got a guy. We're going to make an example out of it. We're going to put this guy through that. Oops, didn't work out for him. They had to change the rule. Somebody's got to step up and fight that thing, and this is the time to do that, to make change. Because everybody, well, you didn't follow the rules. Well, that's a dumb rule, dude. It's a dumb, like, women can't vote. Oh, you got to follow the rules. Women can't vote. No. Eventually, somebody's got to step up and take a bullet and change that damn rule. And this is the time. And I use the Ali thing because when he took on the Vietnam War, which is a conscientious objector, he won. So, we got to do the same thing with Nick. There's a time when that shit has got to get fought in the trenches to change the stupid-ass rule. And that time is right now. Any questions?
It's a good explanation, and I don't disagree with that part of it. I just I'd like to cover the angles here because there are a lot of angles, and if you need to get a rule changed, you got to approach it really from the right angle. Do we need to kill the bees with vinegar, or do we bring them in with honey and get them on our side? That's
forget the honey. That doesn't work. America was not founded on a peace negotiation. It was founded with a gun. You understand that, right?
Jay might not because he's Canadian, but
okay. But the thing is that the Revolutionary War was not a peace negotiation where everybody sat down, oh, let's work this out. No. I mean, and the thing about the Muhammad Ali example, it was not a peace negotiation. He had to step up and almost go to prison because he said, no, Rosa Parks, when she sat on that bus, you got to get off, it's the wrong thing. Was it right that they segregated? Most people think no. They had to change the rule, but somebody has to step up and do that and draw the line and say, no, I'm not going to take this anymore. It's not a peace negotiation. It's not some pie in the sky, hippie, transcendental type meditation exercise. You have to. Certain things are when people start to, well, you gotta follow the rules. That's a dumbass rule, bro. Well, still the rules. You gotta follow that damn rules, y'all. Okay, but you gotta change it now. Questions?
So, what do they have to do to change it? Do they have to clean house at Nevada? Do they have to do it in New Jersey? Do they have to do it in California? How does a rule like that get changed throughout the commissions? Do the commissions agree that they go by a certain set of rules and guidelines for testing? There's no federal
I'm not
program.
a politician. See, this is the thing. All I know is that I'm glad Nick's sticking to his guns. They're going to appeal or whatever. It's a battle of attrition, and who knows? Nick might have to face 5 years of a suspension. But to me, I'm saying if a commissioner thought, hey, what do you think? I said, change that dumbass rule, man. Get rid of that rule.
If I'm in Nick's, if I'm in Nick's camp, my best argument is the part that you brought up about he's clearly never been a steroid guy, and
right.
that's the thing that they're, supposed to be looking out for the most, right? And he, there's never been a question and inclination, in fact, he really is the opposite of the steroid guy. And I don't think anybody would argue that for 1 second. So to me, that makes the biggest and best case for it. That you have a fighter that you're penalizing, and he's squeaky clean in the most important aspect. But, the problem that you run into is that, I guess they felt like he's disrespected the commission. He failed tests in 2 out of his last 3 fights, right?
It's ego. I'm telling you, the whole thing's ego, man. The way those guys acted like, because they want you to kiss the ring and get down on your knees and Nick ain't like that. He's just going to look at you like he's going to flip you off with a look. And so, to me, that's not, they're letting it affect them. You guys ever watch The Wire?
I used to love that show.
Okay. Omar Little?
Yeah.
Remember when he was on the witness stand testifying against another guy?
Yeah. Because I just watched the seasons again within the past 6 months.
Okay. He says something in there that is the opposite of what the commission did. And they said, well, you've been arrested all these times. Doesn't that, how does that make you feel about, the police? And he goes, I've been arrested enough times to not take it personal. Those guys took it personal. And see, that's not governmental, excellence. That's not. That's thuggery. And that's wrong. Because he didn't kiss their ass, so they gave him more than they actually were allowed to give him. Because, am I right? They were only allowed to give him 3 years, right? But they gave him because, we're gonna show this young boy y'all. I mean, I felt like I was watching Deliverance or something. I mean, it's stupid. I mean, it's right in front of people. They can't see it. Oh, you gotta follow the rules. Yeah. Okay, what if they all of a sudden ban drinking? You can't drink alcohol. Performance enhancer. That's the equivalent of what we're dealing right here. You got to change that dumbass rule. I'm telling you, it's so stupid. These people are so archaic, and they want to just rub people out and put people under the thumb. It's a complete ego trip by the commission. Complete.
They got
thin skin, man. They get Nick Diaz from it, and he's an insolent guy. I'm not going to lie, but I like the guy. But some people is going to rub the wrong way. But you have to have thick enough skin to do your job as a commissioner and not let that influence you, because that's called prejudicial thought.
Let's be as thorough as we can. Can we identify other rules or regulations that ought to go as well at the same time? I mean, if we're going to sweep one out, why don't we try to, sweep a few out at the same time and then really improve the game?
Like what?
Well, I there's nothing necessarily that particularly jumps out to me except perhaps, the regulations, I think in the States, I don't know if they still have it, where the UFC had patented the octagon design, and I don't think that you're allowed to conduct fights in the United States in an octagon-shaped cage. I mean, that might be a little nitpicky, but I'm just trying to figure out.
That's a legal issue. That's not a commission issue. That's a legal court battle. It's like a copyright issue. It's not the same thing, because something like the commission makes these rules. They don't have anything to do with copyright jurisdiction. That's not their forte. That's not their environment.
So what about, as far as any of the other substances are concerned? Is it really just weed, or is there something else out there too?
You would have thought. I mean, I was asked, recently, what's the purpose of a pre-fight drug test? Go ahead and answer me that question.
The purpose of a pre-fight drug test?
Yeah.
To make sure you're not.
And what's the penalty that happens if you fail that? In theory, what's the reason why they do pre-fight drug tests?
To make sure that you're not using drugs throughout your training leading into the fight.
Okay, but the thing is that what if you fail the pre-fight drug test? Then what happens?
Nothing.
You just go right on with the fight, or what happens?
That's what they did with John Jones. What was it?
That's
3.5 weeks later, 4 weeks later, and he said he's not even serving suspension for that, like from the commission or anything.
That's what I'm saying. This is not right. That What's the purpose of fighter rankings? What's the purpose of pre-fight drug testing? Because if in other sports, when that happens, you get bounced. You can't compete. You get but in this fight, but it's the fight. It's all this money. We got to make the guy. Come on, man. To me, it's a sham. These rules. They can apply them however they want. John Jones tests positive, and nothing against John Jones. He's a great fighter. I never met him. I know Greg Jackson, Mike Winklejohn, but whatever. I mean, to me, so I asked, what's the purpose of a pre-fight drug test? Vitor tests positive, or John Jones tests positive. They still have the fight? Well, then why even testing? Why test?
Well,
Nick Diaz. We're going to go make an example out of Nick Diaz. Oh, bro, it's just so stupid.
I think that it should be a clearer answer to your question that three of us who are big fans of the sport, at a higher intensity probably in terms of our knowledge or our responsibility of knowledge, should not really have trouble answering that question. That means the punishments are not clear.